Hello America, my name is Carrie. My friends call me Tony. This is an introductory video in a series I am producing that's going to document the racial discrimination I experienced by the Los Angeles judicial system. I'm sharing my story in hopes of raising funds for a GoFundMe page or GoFundMe account. It's Do You See Me campaign. And the purpose of the GoFundMe is to raise enough funds to hire a civil rights attorney that can file a civil liberties suit against the Los Angeles judicial system. This particular lawsuit will benefit black women in particular and other discriminated and marginalized classes. To recap or to remind you, I originally reached out to Wendy Williams, asking her to shine a light on the situation. And the reason why I reached out to Wendy was because this is about my marriage, my divorce case, and it's a divorce case of a long-term marriage. And I actually thought possibly Wendy would take an interest because she could relate to being in a long-term marriage. But I didn't hear back from Wendy. I reached out to multiple channels and she never responded. It's kind of disappointing to me and a little bit hurtful, but the more that I thought about it, I suspect that I'm pretty sure she's seen this video because all the different channels that I reached out to, that she's familiar with this campaign or this situation. But just based on my own feelings, I too am a Cancer. Cancers are very emotional people. I suspect that this might be too close to home for her and she may not be able to address it. I'm hoping it's not that she doesn't find importance of this particular situation, but more that it just would have been hurtful. And I can relate to that myself specifically because as you can tell, I'm a little nervous. This is really uncomfortable for me. Divorce in itself is hard, but what I've gone through is probably 10 times as hard. And if you're not familiar with what I'm referring to, hence the title, I married a white guy and 3 racist judges are trying to annihilate me. So if you haven't saw the other 2 videos, I was married to a white guy for over 20 years. And through divorce court and our divorce proceedings, I experienced serious racial discrimination. Not a little tad bit, Jim Crow racial discrimination by these 3 savage judges. Judge Sarah Heidel, and she was the one who initiated it. And I call him Grand Dragon Lawrence Riff, and I don't know that if he's in the KKK is actually satire. The reason why I related to the Ku Klux Klan, and once I tell my story and you learn exactly what he did to me, you understand that his behavior is reminiscent of the Ku Klux Klan. So again, this video is to highlight or to shine a light on the racial discrimination that is going on in the family court system. I have since learned that this is pretty common in the family court system in Los Angeles, that women, non-white women who are married to or have children with European men, like white males, that they are treated, they're discriminated against. And so that's what this video is about. That's what this whole series is about, shining a light on these racist judges. A little nervous. And just a reminder, you guys, I'm suffering from post-concussion syndrome, so the specific things I want to say, and it takes me a minute to recall. So please bear with me. throughout this video and other videos. It just happens when I try specific things I want to say and talk about, trying to remember them and recall them, it's a challenge for me because I'm suffering from a concussion, a post-concussion syndrome. So, so this first video is going to be about the background of my marriage. And I want to say this to you. Some of the girls that are watching the videos, who viewed the video, some of the viewers have already reached out to me via my email. Later on, I'm going to share with you how people have already reached out to me. And one of the girls was like, girl, they're going to come for you about your marriage. I'm not mad at you. I don't censor people. I believe in the glass half full. This is a very traumatic experience for me. Whatever good can come out of this, I welcome. So if you want to make comments or accusations or observations about what I did wrong, what I could have done better, I'm not going to be angry or upset. I actually, to some degree, I welcome it. Because other young women are going to be viewing this video and they're going to be reading the comments, and I would much rather them learn from my mistakes, than make the same mistake I made. So if you want to make observations or, judgment about what I did wrong, because y'all going to find out I was kind of dumb, and, love is blind and stupid. Y'all are women, so y'all know we be dumb sometimes for our men. It's okay, but I also want to make it clear that this series and this whole me documenting my story is not about my marriage. It's about that I was married to this guy for 20 years and my marriage failed just like any other marriage. And when I went through the judicial system, I was maligned. These 3 savage judges tried to annihilate me, and I'm going to tell y'all as we go through this, you're going to learn this is about economic power. This is about them trying to maintain economic power. You're going to learn that these 3 people, judges, discriminated against me because I'm a black woman, because my skin is black. That's it. Bottom line. So I have to give information about my marriage so you guys have an understanding of what happened. It's germane to the divorce case and the laws. Okay. Well, quickly, and I don't want to go too deep in this. I think I'll find myself getting deep in this because it's really hurtful and it's upsetting. I want to briefly talk about the coronavirus because it's current events. Shout out to Puffy or P. Diddy or Diddy or whatever his name is for what he's doing on Instagram. How he said this is a life or death situation about black people. You guys, I want to say to you, I want to ask you, when you guys heard that this is affecting us at a disproportionate rate, at an alarming rate, how did it make you feel? What did you think? For me it was like, what? Something else? I was in the store and this Latin man, his little daughter was in there and she was in front of me. He grabbed her and just threw her out of my way. And it didn't hurt me too bad because I'm thinking he wants his daughter to be safe. But you guys, he was like, it's a black person. She might have the coronavirus. Okay, a brief discussion about the coronavirus and how it relates to the black community. So, of course, we know that we have these underlying health issues. But I want to give a little bit more detailed explanation as to why we are contracting and dying of coronavirus at a disproportionate rate. And the reason being is that we are confronted with stress factors at a disproportionate rate. And I want to do a quick explanation as to what happens to the human body when we're under stress. We all know about the fight or flight responses. The fight or flight responses is when our body is this rush of adrenaline. It's actually hormones, and one of which is cortisol, to give us a quick boost so we can run, fight or flight, fight or run. And so the fight or flight reflexes is for acute stress. Like acute meaning sudden, short-lived, and mild. So acute is like when something real quickly happens, it's not long-term, and it's not severe, okay? And that's what happens to the body. But what happens with black people, we encounter chronic, long-lived stress, okay? And so when the fight or flight response is activated and those hormones or flow through the body, when it happens repeatedly or chronically, it disrupts the body. And I wrote down so I can identify exactly what happens to the body, because this is really very important to black people, or specifically black women. When our fight or flight responses are initiated repeatedly, chronically, it's an increase in anxiety, depression, panic attacks, headaches, breathing difficulty, digestive problems, immune system issues, insomnia, and problems with attention and focus. And so everything on this list I've experienced. I have a medical history for the past 20 years of this happening to me because I was in this abusive marriage. And I want to point this out really quickly to you guys who watch Wendy. And I'm using Wendy as an example because she is a public figure. We see her and we see what's happened to her, and it demonstrates what happens with chronic stress. You guys watch Wendy, and for the past year, you guys might thought it had more to do with her. Maybe she's under the influence, but if you think about it, how forgetful she is, how Norman has to remind her of words and she says the wrong thing, that has to do with problems with attention and focus. Wendy is always burping on camera, y'all, right? Y'all notice that. That digestive issues. And when I would watch her on TV, I really would relate to her, and I hope you guys are not annoyed or angry because I keep using her as an example. I really relate to her, Wendy, a lot, and I really like Wendy Williams. And we've all watched her, and all these things that were happening to her, they were happening to her because she was in a toxic marriage. I was in a toxic marriage. We're all thinking, oh, she has a brain tumor, or she's buzzed. She may have been buzzed, y'all. I don't know about that part. I don't know. Like, allegedly. I'm not sitting there saying she was buzzed, but we thought those things. But the symptoms that we observed her enduring or displaying also relate to symptoms that occur when you have acute stress, anxiety, depression. She went to rehab, anxiety, depression, focus, digestive issues. Do you guys, why do you think she's always burping? Wendy will burp on camera in a heartbeat. And I had issues with digestive issues. I had issues with peristaltic, where my food wouldn't go down. I have over 20 years of medical issues dealing with stress because I tried my best to make this marriage work, and I was in a toxic marriage for over 20 years. And so going back to coronavirus, that's why we can contract it faster. That's why we can die from it faster, because we have these ongoing issues, and these ongoing issues relate to stress. Okay, so I need to discuss my marriage, and I know I'm stalling because I don't want to get to that part, but that's what this is going to be about. I'm giving you guys background about my marriage. Okay, getting into the background of my marriage. I was married to this white guy for a little over 23 years. My husband and I met when we were in college. I was at a community college and he was at a university. And it's funny because back then, like right when we got married, he was like, I met my wife in college. Yeah, I met him while we were in college, and it was in the 90s, and I used to refer to him as a wicker, and he hated that. But you guys who know the 90s was a big hip-hop culture, and it was conscious hip-hop. And so it was like Tupac, Queen Latifah, KRS-One, Public Enemy. And y'all, I'm from New York. I'm from the Bronx. I'm from the origination of hip-hop music. So I'm a true hip-hop head. So when I met this white kid who liked hip-hop, I was smitten with him, you guys. I'm not even going to lie. I was enamored with him. And we would have a great time. We would go out, and my husband is one of the things that we have in common. If we're both really very like people oriented, we like people, and he's very charismatic. And we would go to clubs, and I would dance, and he would sit at the bar and sit and flirt with girls. And it was always so cute. I'd be dancing because he didn't want to dance. He'd dance with me, but my white husband really can't dance. He thinks he can, but he can't. Anyway, I would be dancing, and he would be at the bar talking to some girl or whatever. And I would walk up. I would come up to him, and he would introduce me to the girl as his girlfriend. And I always got a kick out of their reaction, because back then I didn't think anything of it. He was my boyfriend and I loved him. And him interacting with girls really, at the time, really didn't bother me. I just knew he was charismatic and he liked people. And I was the same way, so I never was really threatened by it in the beginning. But during this time, as I look back on it, we would be clubbing and doing different stuff. He drank a lot. And when you're young in your college, you drink, right? So I really didn't drink back then. Right now, I'll have a cocktail or two. I'll get, I'm not a really heavy drinker still today, but back then I really didn't drink at all. But, when you're in college, you drink. So he drank often. He actually would get drunk. Now, 7 years later, I realized that my husband was an alcoholic back then. I was also raised by an alcoholic. And so I had issues with my parents, and that's another thing that bonded us, is that he had serious issues with his parents. He was adopted by these racist parents, and he had a difficult childhood. And again, as women, we want to love and fix our men when they're vulnerable or, wounded. We want to fix them. And still today, I'm like that with him. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm still like that with him today. So we started off young, and I kind of want to give you guys some background as to the abuse, because my husband would do, when he was my boyfriend, he'd do dark shit. He would do dark stuff back when I was younger. And when you're young and you're in a relationship with a boy, you try to navigate. You don't know what to expect. You just try to deal with it. I loved him, and he and I kind of fell in love quickly, like in maybe like a month, and so I'm thinking about it because he would do shitty things to me, and I tolerated it because I love my husband. At the time, my boyfriend. And so to give you like an example, and this may sound like trivial, but I want to demonstrate the dark behavior from 20 something years ago, because he has a pattern and he started doing dark stuff to me early on. And in terms of the court, and that's what I want to briefly say, because this is about these racist judges. In California, in a divorce, if you're in an abusive relationship, it affects your spousal support, okay? And so I was in an abusive relationship for over 20 something years, and I demonstrated to the court that it started in the 90s, okay? And I wanted to like give you like a quick example of something he did when we were younger. I'm in California now, but we both from the East Coast. I met him in the East Coast, and one weekend he took me to the homecoming game for A&T. Remember, my husband's a Wigger, so A&T is a historically black college. When I first met my husband, he had a white shirt on with Malcolm X in the front and Martin Luther King in the back. Okay, so my husband is a Wigger. Okay, and so he was taking me to Greensboro to A&T homecoming game, and so we were driving around. This was like maybe mid-fall for homecoming, I guess. We were driving around looking for a hotel, and I felt myself getting sick. Like I remember, and this was over 25 years ago, and I remember specifically. And how you feel like something's coming on. My head was like feeling like it had a sinus. It was dry, and I was coughing, and I was getting kind of cold. And I turned the heat on in the car. He cut it off. I'm like, stop. I cut the heat back on. He cut it off. Then he cut the air conditioning on. This was over 20 something years ago. This was when we were like 21 and 23. We were young, okay? And today when I think about it, I guess you might think, oh, this is a stupid young boy being dumb. But this is the dark behavior that he did throughout our relationship, and as time progressed, it kind of got even worse. So we're in the car, I'm not feeling good, and it just tells you his insensitivity towards me, because it kind of hurts my feelings now. At the time, I wasn't going to cry or anything. I was annoyed with him more than anything, but I was like, dude, stop cutting the air conditioner on. I'm sick. I'm like, why are you doing this? I'm sick. He was my boyfriend at the time. And so we got to the hotel room, and it was 2 beds. Do you know he looked at me all sideways because I slept in the other bed? I'm like, dude, I was in the car with you. I'm sick. I'm not feeling good. And I'm turning the heat on. You don't care that I'm cold and I'm sick. Then, to make it worse, he started turning the air conditioning on. And I specifically remember it. And so when we got to the hotel, I remember him looking at me like, you're not going to come and get into bed with me? And I remember that. I'm like, really? You know, so that was one of the beginning of him and this dark behavior that progressively got worse. So when I was a young girl, I really didn't know how to be. I didn't really know how to act. I just, again, was trying to navigate the relationship with this guy that I was in love with. And when you get to know me, you'll realize that my family means everything to me. So my self-worth was really tied to the dynamics of my family. So dealing with his abuse and infidelity was like just par for the course, you know. And to be quite honest, I actually thought he would change, you know, and he did make good strides. You know, as we got older, he tried to stop, and that's when, you know, he would write these letters, and in the letters he would apologize, and when he would do stuff, and it's the reason why I stayed so long, he would try to do things to make amends, but each time it was derailed by his alcoholism. And yeah, he's an alcoholic. And being raised by alcoholics, it wasn't foreign. So I just dealt with it to the best of my ability. And so I want to give some more background as to issues that happened in my marriage with my husband and his abuse. When I was pregnant with my daughter, my daughter was 2 weeks late. She actually was 2 weeks late. And when I would eat, I would feel her move. And for several days, I recognized she wasn't moving. And I remember telling my husband, and him being nasty and mean about it. He actually, the day before she was born, he went to a friend of ours birthday party. And it's funny because my daughter was born on this guy's birthday. So I was home in distress, scared and afraid because I was having issues. I was in pain, I believe. But what I remember specifically is that she had moved in several days. And I was already classified as a high-risk patient because I had gestational diabetes when I was pregnant. So I think I was going to the doctor like every week or whatever. They put you on a special monitoring or whatever. So I called the hospital, I think to find out about my test or something. I just remember being worried and him not caring. He went to this party. He left me laying on the floor. I ended up calling the doctor, and the hospital told me to come to the hospital because I think I had tests before, the gestational diabetes test, maybe a week before, whatever, because I just remember when I was able to call the hospital, they told me to come in. And so I go to the hospital, and I'm in the hospital by myself, 40 weeks pregnant. He's not there. He's not with me. Hours later, he ends up coming. And they ended up, what do you call it when they induced my labor, I think? They were waiting for me to dilate. And they ended up inducing my labor. Y'all, he came to the hospital drunk. Okay? Lit. Anyway, they ended up inducing my labor. And I remember this. So my daughter was in distress. Remember I said she was 2 weeks late? She had a bowel movement inside me. So she had ingested the meconium. That is the baby stool. And so they took me to the operating room or whatever. And I remember they were monitoring her heart. And I remember her heart going slow. And I'm just like freaking out. He's standing there. Could care less. This is the man I've been married to my whole life. He just doesn't deal with stress very well. And so they tied my hands and my feet, and now I know they did that just in case she died during the birth. But I had a C-section, and everybody in the room, the nurses, are noticing this man is standing here, cold, distant. The nurse started rubbing my head. He's just standing there. And he's always oblivious. Everyone in the room seeing that my husband, I'm scared, I'm afraid, and this man's just standing here like nothing. So I had a C-section, and when she came out, she didn't make any noise. I'm terrified, and I'm saying it, you guys, I'm reliving this because if you're married and your wife is going through this, a loving husband's going to pamper you, hold your hand, or do something to help relieve the stress. This guy stood there, and y'all, I'm gonna make excuses for him. My husband doesn't deal well with stress. He doesn't. It's just who he is. He doesn't deal well with stress. I think he becomes afraid. I don't know. I don't know. It was hurtful to me, but it's part of my memory. And what I remember, like when she came out, and I'm scared. She came out. I didn't hear her, so I'm thinking my baby's dead. It may have been only a few minutes, a few seconds. Then she cried. I'm like, yeah. She was actually born on Father's Day. I remember the nurse going to get me water and ice. This guy's just standing here. And just knowing who he is, everyone in the room is realizing that this guy is being cold to me. And of course, we're black and white. It's all white people in the room. It's all white people. So God knows what they're thinking. This is my husband. This is not my boyfriend. This is my husband. Okay? But I gave him a daughter on Father's Day. He had sobered up by this time. But I just remember the nurse rubbing my head. And it was an anesthesiologist. I think I remember the nurse noticing that this guy didn't do or say anything. And I remember saying to him, "Oh, babe, I'm not getting you anything for Father's Day." And the nurse kind of looked at me like, "What?" You know, yeah. That was one of many stories of being married to this guy. So, yeah, I was so young when I had her. So, I was resilient. So when he would do these dark things to me, I would recover. I'm not as resilient as I was then. Now, yeah, he would do these dark things to me. And then, you know, he would have remorse. He would write me letters or give me cards. And I actually submitted these cards and letters to the court. They're part of the public record because they're part of the court documents. Each time I submitted these cards and letters showing, demonstrating that my husband was abusive, because the cards would talk about him apologizing, being remorseful, or him saying he was sorry. Each time I would say this in court, they would ignore me. They would act like they didn't hear me. It's very important that you guys follow my journey, this journey, so you guys can see what these 3 racist judges did to me. Particularly, he tried to say that I was the one that was abusive, that I abused him. During the trial, he told them that back in the early 90s that I cut him. And the judge would not let me question him. When he testified, the judge kept interrupting me when I tried to question him about what specifically happened. What actually happened is that this was before I had my daughter, because I got pregnant with my daughter, and I was working at a restaurant, and I actually ended up leaving the restaurant after I had my daughter. But so it was before I had my daughter. But I worked in a restaurant. I was a waitress when I was younger, and if you know anything about restaurant business, you know we all hang out after work. So I had a group of friends from work that came over, and we were across the street at one of the guys' house. And there's this guy. And back then, I can't remember his name. I think his name might be James, but I used to call him Tutti Frutti. And see, in hindsight, I was kind of proud of my husband about this. It was this gay guy. And this gay guy would flirt with my husband. He would flirt with him. I think it was James, but I remember I called him Tutti Frutti. He was one of the assistant managers, actually. He was a waiter, or he was a head waiter at the restaurant. But I think he was kind of a manager too, because he would do managerial stuff at the end of the night. But he was a waiter. And he would flirt with my husband. And he would flirt with my husband. One time, I think at a Christmas party, my husband squeezed his butt. And he looked at me like, your husband just squeezed my butt. And y'all, listen, this was over 20-something years ago. So remember, he and I are silly, and we do silly stuff, and we freak people out. So I really wasn't too alarmed at this behavior. I even have a picture in here somewhere, and it was at a Christmas party, because I remember my husband having a blue tie and a yellow shirt, and James went down, dancing, went down, and my husband had a camera. I got the picture in here somewhere. He took a picture of the guy on his knees. You see James's head, and you see my husband's tie and his shirt. Okay, so it's after work. I remember really vaguely. it's after work because there's people from my job coming. I guess we're coming to my house to hang out. They were across the street at this biker's house, and I guess they were drinking over there. I don't really drink. I drink now more than I did then, but I really don't drink. I didn't drink at all. Like one drink I would make me sick. So I wasn't a big drinker. But what actually happened was I saw him over there flirting with Tutti Frutti. They were playing darts, and they did something in their faces together. And I was like, did I just see him do that? And y'all, I kind of was like, no, he didn't just do that. So I just came home. I left and I came home. This is over 20 years ago. So I'm telling y'all, I can't tell you exactly verbatim what happened, but I'm going to tell you the context. Because this man went to court and lied. So I saw him flirting with the guy flirting with my husband over. This is something that went on. When he would see my husband, he would flirt with my husband. And I remember him looking at me, your husband's flirting with me. And I didn't think anything of it. I'm like, he just being silly. Because I remember he squeezed his butt at the Christmas party. And he looked at me like, your husband just squeezed my butt. And I know y'all thinking like, I know what y'all thinking, okay? But this was my husband. And we're silly. We do silly stuff. And I was actually very proud of my husband that he wasn't homophobic. That he could hang out with gay guys and be silly. My kids are like that. So I was actually proud that he could do that and not get offended or like be homophobic. Okay? But then I saw them. I want to say the guy's name, but I better say the guy's name at this guy's house across the street. And they were playing darts and they did something with their faces together. I was like, did I just see that? Anyway, I left. I came home. I remember I came home. He came home drunk. And I think I said something about him being gay with Tutti Frutti. He got mad at me. He slammed me to the ground. I went in the kitchen and got a knife. Dummy tried to pull the knife out of my hand. Yes. And I remember the police coming. And this, I'm going to tell you guys about black people and white people and the police. The police came to the house. My husband was standing at the door talking shit to the cops. And this is mind-boggling to me. This was over 20 years ago. Because y'all know, if this was a black man standing at the door talking shit to the cops, they would have drug his ass out and took him to jail. My husband was standing there talking junk to the police. He got to an argument with them, I remember. But at any rate, he goes to court. He tells this racist judge that I cut him. And then, you know, he testifies and you want to question him. I tried to question him to prove that he was lying. The judge interrupted me. His attorney didn't even object. The judge stopped me from questioning him. Okay? You know what, black girls, I know this is long, and it's very important that you guys stay with me. I'm going to do a series of videos. This is the foundation of my marriage and the background of my marriage. And again, this is not specifically about my marriage. You need to know the specifics of my marriage to understand how these people tried to malign me. They did malign me. You'll see what they did to me. Okay? And I'm gonna find that picture in here, and I'm gonna find it, and I'll either put it in this video or I will put it on the website. The picture's in here somewhere. The picture of him, okay, because he told the judge some story about I went and got a knife and cut him. He told some ridiculous that didn't make any sense. When I get the transcript, you guys can read the transcripts and see what he said, which didn't make any sense. Everybody in the courtroom knew he was lying. The bailiff was a black woman. She knew he was lying. Everyone in the room knew he was lying. And this man stopped me from questioning him. If he would have let me continue to question him, I don't want to go too far in this part because this is later on in the next video, the further videos, because I'm going to tell you guys, document chronologically what happened through my divorce proceedings. But I'm really angry about this specifically because this is one of the ways that they really screwed me over. And the main thing about this, you guys, why it's important that you guys follow me and you guys help me with this, is because their racist abuse or racist, like, violating my civil rights is blatant. The things that I'm saying to you, I can prove it. I can show you. I'm going to find the picture that my husband took a picture of this guy, and James is on his knees. This is the guy, I think his name is James. I just call him Tutti Frutti, okay? And because he's my friend. Now, if you're gay, I'm not trying to offend you. Nowadays, everything's a little bit more PC. But this was back in the 90s, and this was my flaming friend who I love, and he was my friend. He came to my house to party after work. My husband was he was sitting flirting with my husband. My husband would flirt back with him, and I didn't trip. This was that one time when I saw them put their face together. I was like, wait a minute, okay? Even when I went home, I just kind of didn't want to be bothered with him because he was drunk. And I said something to him about him and James. And he got mad because I accused him of being gay. He slammed me. I remember my back hurting. He slammed me to the ground. When I got him off me, I went in the kitchen and I got a knife just to make him leave me alone. He came in the kitchen and took the knife out of my hand, tried to take it out of my hand, and he cut himself. And that's exactly what happened. And what I said in court, James, what I said in court was, did I go to jail? Did I get arrested? Do you remember fighting with the police? He was the abuser. And it's going to show that the judge tried to malign me and frame me. This is what they do to black women. This is what they do to black people. But this is about black women. Yeah, so I can go on and on about the stories about my husband. And again, this is only giving you background about my marriage. This is the first video in a series. And the purpose of these videos is to document the racial discrimination and the violation of my civil liberties. But how he treated me, I mean, women sometimes are in abusive marriages, okay? I understand that. And it was my choice to stay in the marriage. But what transpired during my divorce, after, like, what transpired through my divorce, I shouldn't have to endure. Not in America. I'm going to tell you guys all that happened, and it's kind of appalling to me. You know what I just thought about? I just watched that video on TikTok with that girl was talking about niggers and pouring water in the thing. Listen, you guys, I know there's racism in America. I know that. I know we're confronted with it every day. But I look at the glass half full. I don't want to have a victim mentality. So I don't sit here and scream, you know, racism, racism, racism. It's not good for your psyche. Okay? So when I saw that TikTok video, I was in awe. Just like when I go ahead and tell you about this racist lady, what she did to me. You guys, I know people are still prejudiced. I know racism exists. But I'm going to be very honest with you. This happening to me shook me. I just couldn't believe that these people were so blatant. But going back to this guy that I'm married to, or by this time you guys see this, I'm probably going to be divorced. I don't know. So, yes, I was in an abusive marriage. And I want to be clear about this. He and I have been together since we were younger. My husband was raised in an abusive relationship, abusive parents. Okay? They adopted him. And this is the thing that always stuck with me. When he would do this shitty things to me. Even today, I actually left him a voicemail yesterday telling him, you know, I worry about him. My husband's an alcoholic and he's not okay. We've been separated for years now, and I've talked to him when he was drunk, so he's still getting drunk. Okay. At any rate, I want to tell you all this. When we first got together, he told me this story. He was adopted. He told me when he was driving down the street with his mother, there was an abandoned puppy on the road. This is thing that sticks with me forever. He said that his adopted mother, his mom, who he calls mom, told him, said, if we didn't adopt you, you would be like that abandoned puppy on the road. My husband told me this like the first maybe year we were together. And when he told me this, you know, when you first meet someone, you share your stories or whatever. So today, I'm hurt by it because he's been doing shitty things to me. But you guys, my husband's an alcoholic, and alcoholism is a disease. And like I told you, I submitted letters. My husband wrote me letters in 1993 about him being drunk, being an alcoholic, and about his parents. So this, everything I'm saying to you, I can prove. Okay, when he told me this story about his mother telling him he was like a abandoned puppy on the street, my husband never felt worthy. To this day, my husband is very insecure. My husband is very hardworking. He's a hardworking workaholic. He starts early, he stays late, and which is rooted in his insecurity. Okay, and I mean, I admire him. I loved him and I stayed with him because he has a phenomenal work ethic. But he's abusive, and he's abusive because he was raised by people, his parents. So you guys, listen, if you're still watching this video and you need to pause and stop, I want you guys to watch the entirety of this video. If you have to stop because I know it's long, I'm going to try to edit it and make it shorter. But what I'm saying, it might sound old or you're over it, but I need you guys to listen and hear this because you need to understand the background of my marriage and what happened once I went through divorce proceedings. What was I telling you guys? I don't even remember. About this guy being abusive. And him working, my husband worked hard. And just the story about him being, the story about his mother telling him he was like this abandoned puppy. It's why I always would forgive him. Because he's not okay. He's an alcoholic and he needs therapy. And I know many people, someone told me today that I need to go to Al-Anon. If you guys feel like, if you were in an abusive or in a relationship with an alcoholic and you know something that I don't know, because my family, I was raised, there's a lot of alcoholics in my family, so I know what alcoholism looked like. When you're an alcoholic, you're not empathetic. You have no compassion, and progressively it gets worse. We got together when he was 21 years old. He was an alcoholic then. If you know how alcohol abuse progressively burns the brain cells, he becomes aggressive and mean. That's what happened to my husband. And actually, yeah, so about 2016, my marriage was hanging on by a thread. You guys, my husband was unfaithful to me. And I knew it. I don't even want to go into all the stuff that I caught him doing. I'll explain to you why I kind of let it go. Later on, when I tell you what happened with my life and what I was trying to do with my life, why I was not fighting with him and why I was choosing to let him do what he was doing, I'll tell you later on as I do this series of videos. But I want to tell you the specifics, like how stuff the divorce came about. So about 2016, he started tripping about 2014, okay? His father was sick and his father died of cancer, okay? I thought he was tripping because his father was dying, okay? I'm going to tell you, as where we are now, later on in the video, later on in my series, I'm going to tell you what possibly was why he started tripping. He was always like abusive, but it became more aggressive. He started staying out. what was happening was he took up golf. And you know, golf is therapeutic. Okay, so I'm not tripping on the golf. The golf was good for him, was good for him. He would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go play golf and be gone all day. You guys, he was playing golf in January when it was like 50, 60 degrees at 5 o'clock in the morning. He's like, oh, I'm going to San Diego to play golf. And you guys, honestly, at the time, I really believed him, okay? And then, you know, when this was happening, he worked a lot. If he was playing golf, it was good for him, okay? So, one particular time, because sometimes he would go and he wouldn't come home. And this one day, I mean, maybe on a Saturday or Sunday, he left early in the morning. It may have been like 5 or 6 o'clock when he came home. I was upstairs, and my girlfriend Desiree was upstairs. And so he came in the house, and I yelled to him, why don't you go back where you came from? He was down here talking crazy. He ran upstairs, slammed me against the wall. Desiree came out of the bathroom. You should have seen him like a deer in headlights. He didn't know she was upstairs in the bathroom. She didn't know she was upstairs. He didn't know she was upstairs with me. When I yelled at him, that's probably why I was talking drunk because she was here. I said, why don't you go back where you came from? And he said something. He was down here saying something. He ran upstairs. She was in the bathroom. And he slammed me against the wall. And she came out and she saw him slam me against the wall. And you guys, Desiree was shook. Desiree was shook because my husband is very charismatic. Everyone loves him. She kind of rubbed it in my face that she saw him do this. Because she was like, oh, I didn't know he was like that. I know he was doing that to you. Because, of course, I wouldn't share that. I always would protect him. When he grabbed the knife and the police was there, and I was protecting him then. When he was sitting there arguing with the police. I always protect my husband. And to even tell you more of a story, so one of my other girlfriends, she's one of my girlfriends, me and her were actually pregnant the same year. And she worked at that restaurant with me. My husband used to be talking to the gay guy. Okay, so one day I was here and I was in here cooking. Because guys, I stopped working because of my back. I was off of work for my back for over 10 years. Okay, I slipped and fell in 2008. I ended up having back surgery in 2016. Okay, I was on workers' comp because I slipped and fell at work. And so I was home cooking. I would be home. I was a housewife. I became a housewife. I was home cooking, and when my girlfriend was here, and we were commiserating about our marriage. You know, you sit there, you talk about your husband together, with your friends, and you guys, I was married for a long time, and this is why my marriage lasted so long, okay? So, I'm not going to say her name, but we were in here talking. She ended up getting divorced way before I did. Her husband's been divorced. But we would always talk about our marriages together. And she was the kind of wife that would like give her husband a hard time if he looked at a woman or whatever. And I was chill, I always would try to tell her to choose her battles. So he came home. And I said, hey babe, what's up? When I went and I kissed him, I said, dinner'll be ready in a minute. And she looked at me like, Tony. I ain't gonna say her name. So he went to the bathroom and she gave me the dirtiest look. She said, I thought you was mad. And she felt, her looking at me, the way she treated me after this, it was like she was so betrayed by me because we were sitting here commiserating, talking about our husbands, right? He came home. I love my husband. He came home. I kissed him like, hey babe, dinner'll be ready soon. And when he was in the bathroom, she was in there looking at me like, you fake. And you guys, I wasn't being fake. I was angry with him. He was doing a lot of shitty things to me. But why am I going to sit here and be mean to him? Was I going to sit here and make it worse? But in this part, I do want you guys to comment on. And again, you guys comment about it. If you've been in a relationship, if you're married, if you're a therapist, if you have any feedback about this. Because I read all these different books, you guys. I read Men from Mars, Women from Venus, Getting the Love You Need. I have tons of audiobooks about a lot of different things because I was trying my best to make my marriage work with this alcoholic man. So I'm laughing about my girlfriend because I remember when he went in the bathroom, she was like, "You are fake." Like, I thought you should. I remember her saying, "I thought you were mad at him," and I'm like, "I am mad at him, but I'm not gonna sit here and be mean to him." You know, so if you guys have a problem with how I just explained my behavior, say it nicely, you guys. Don't be like, "You're dumb, black chick married to a white guy." Please don't talk crazy to me, you guys. Please don't say, because right now everything is really very raw for me. I made the last video over a week ago. I have been having anxiety about making these videos. So, I am okay with you telling me how you feel and what you think. And I think it's important that I get feedback from people or other people read other people's take on my situation. But please just don't be mean. Don't say hurtful things to me. I'm begging you, please don't say mean things to me because I'm really very fragile right now, okay? You guys, please. Because I really want girls to learn from this. It was 20 years ago, and when he would do these things, he would show remorse. He would really ever just say he was sorry. He, like, maybe once. He wouldn't say he's sorry. He would do nice things for me. Like, so the next day, you know, reason why I'm stopping right now because I had a discussion with another girl about her relationship, and I'm kind of feeling kind of bad because I am coaching her to do what I've done and not make a big deal of things, and I'm just thinking about that. This is my husband and I just wanted my marriage to work. So when he would do these things, he would show remorse. So the next day I wouldn't say anything about it. I wouldn't bring it up. I acted it didn't happen. And he would have guilt. So he would take me on a trip, or he would give me his credit card to buy something. If I said I liked something or I wanted to do something or whatever, he would remember that I mentioned something. And when he would go to work the next day, he would send me an email link to, and I have these email links, okay? I have all these emails I wanted to submit in court, and they wouldn't let me submit my documents, okay? Everything I'm saying is documented, okay? So, yeah, so when he would do the stuff to me, he would do these mean-spirited things to me. He'd show remorse, you guys. I'm not gonna lie to you. He never would say I'm sorry. Like I said, he would take me on a trip, or he would buy me something and say, our place was Vegas. Vegas was one of the places that we would love to go. So say he was mean to me. I don't know. He did something rude. Who knows? He would always just do shitty things to me, you know. Friday, coming home, he called me like, "You want to go to Vegas?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's go." And we would go to Vegas. And while we're in Vegas now, and mind you, and this is the cycle of my marriage, okay? And I'm remembering because I'm remembering how I feel when he would do these things to me. You guys, they hurt. It hurt. I'm not gonna say I wasn't hurt by it, okay? I was hurt by it. I just learned to deal with it. And he would make up for it. He would say, and I'm not saying that it's justified, okay? So please don't, you guys say what you want to say. I'm going to let you say, but please say it nicely. And I know you guys are going to come for me and you're going to criticize me, and I'm okay because I want people to read the comments because I want girls to do the right thing. I want them to learn from my mistakes, okay? So, for example, if he did this thing, he took me to Vegas. While we're in Vegas, he would be so nice to me. He'd be like, "Come on, babe," but like, go to the slot machines. He'd give me money to put in the slot machines. He's like, "Come on, let's go gamble. You want to go to a buffet?" Vegas has shopping. Here, we'll go shopping. One time, remember, he let me buy makeup. He let me buy this makeup at this, when Mac was kind of new on the scene kind of for me. It was a Mac in Caesar's Palace. And he, matter of fact, I went back to the room because I was tired. My girlfriend turned me on to the Mac, and her friend, one of her old managers from the East Coast, started working at the Mac store in Vegas, and she let me get all the stuff. My husband went and picked it up and paid for it, and this is a specific time, and I know when he would do these nice things for me, and my husband took care of me. he would do these nice things for me, it would always be because he's done something shitty to me. And in my mind, it was him showing me love. He had done these dark things since the time I met him. My husband was wounded. He was wounded because he was raised by these abusive parents. And this is the ongoing story that is in my life. I wrote a letter to his lawyer last year telling her he's an alcoholic. He was raised by these abusive parents. He's an alcoholic. He needs to go to therapy. Anyway, so in 2008, I slipped and fell going to see Beyonce's A&R guy in Santa Monica at Def Jam. I worked in banking, and I was doing a deal with at this time it was Beyonce Knowles, A&R guy. I remember because on his in his office he had a plaque that said 2 million ringtones for B-Day. I worked in banking. When I went to go see him, I slipped and fell in the garage, and I injured my back. And this is what set off. I guess you guys are saying when I tell you all the stuff that happened in marriage, it was doomed to begin with. But this is kind of what kind of made it take a nosedive. So I injured my back. I severely injured my back. I used to wake up every morning in chronic pain. I don't know if you ever experienced sciatic problems. Every morning I woke up in pain. My daughter would come downstairs, bring me ice every morning. This guy would walk by me like I wasn't there. He would walk by me like whatever. He made me feel like my back injury was my fault. I remember, so I ended up having back surgery in 2016. I fell in 2008. Okay? Progressively it got worse to the point that I literally couldn't walk. We went to Chicago in 2016 for a conference. It was one of his conferences, and I went. And you guys, when I'm telling the truth, I met a girl there. Everything that I'm saying, I can prove. So I was in the room the majority of the time. We were in Chicago. My husband had these conferences, and he invited me to the conference. I couldn't walk. Like literally I couldn't walk. I would have to take like 4 or 5 steps and sit down. It was pretty bad. In order to get out and walk around or do anything, I'd have to take a cocktail of medication. And I remember it was specifically amount. It was tramadol and Norco, or tramadol and Vicodin. I think it was tramadol and Norco. And you guys, I had a little cocktail measurement. I remember I think I should take like 2 of one, and then like an hour or 2 later take the other 2. And y'all know I was high on this medication. That's why I was able to walk. Painkillers does not heal. It just masks the pain. And I'm not really been into taking drugs, so I would only, I was in pain a lot, and I was like really mean. When I was having this back issue, I would just be mean. I'm not gonna lie, you guys, I would be mean. And I would only take the medication so I could stop being mean. I was mean because I was in pain. I had chronic pain. And so we're in Chicago, and so what happened, he booked a trip for us to go on the water, it's like a museum, boat tour. We were in a hotel right near the river in Chicago, I think near Michigan Avenue. And and this is what my husband's like. You guys have men just do stuff like this, He bought the tickets, and he did buy the tickets being nice. He was trying to be nice and do something nice. We travel a lot. In my marriage, we travel quite frequently. And that's one of the things that we did a lot. We would travel, we would do things. And so he was at the conference all day, and I guess while he was there, and you guys, this was him actually trying to do something nice. He bought tickets to this boat tour, and the conference was over at 5 or something like that, and the boat tour was left at 5:15. I think he either called me or something. Y'all, I couldn't get to the boat in time because I couldn't walk. Okay? So, and my husband is really very passive aggressive. So, at the time, he wasn't angry, he wasn't mad. He just came from the conference, so he hadn't been drinking. Okay? So, and I remember, I know when he's upset. He didn't show any signs of being angry with me about it, because I was trying to walk. If you guys ever been to Chicago, it's like a river, and then across the street was where the boat tour was. It's a long walk. I had to walk like several, maybe a half a mile or something, and then go over a bridge and go. I couldn't walk, and this is more about him being a man than being an abusive man. He just never, this is one of the issues they have in marriages. He just wouldn't think. He told me at the last minute, because he had been to the conference all day, that he had bought these tickets. I think the thing left at 5:15. So I think he may call me right at 5 o'clock, and he was expecting me to be able to get over there in time. I've been laying in bed on ice in the hotel the whole day. I couldn't get there fast enough. So on the piece of paper, the tickets were $75, and my husband is like, tight, y'all. I remember the tickets being $75, I think for both, or maybe, I think it was $75 for both. Because I remember on the ticket, the person told him he can get his refund back. He would call and have to give a refund. And so, I'm so sorry, my long story, you guys. But, so he was annoyed about this. But he's passive aggressive, so he didn't show any signs of being angry. So we left, we went out, and you guys, I'm on this cocktail, and while I'm walking, I have to sit down every few minutes, and he's being patient with me. This is my husband. In the beginning, he's being patient with me, right? We went to go to the Bean and everything, and he's trying to be patient with me, but I can't walk. We're in Chicago, touring Chicago, and every few steps I got to sit down. And he was annoyed with me, but he's passive aggressive, so he wouldn't show it. What ended up happening was we went to this place called the Grand Lux Cafe for dinner. This is where he started having his cocktails. And the Grand Lux in Chicago is closed now. But if you are a manager and remember a black woman and a white male in 2016, and it probably was on a Friday because it was the end of the conference, we went to this restaurant, and he started being nasty. He started talking about the food. He started being mean to me. And when he would do this to me, you guys, I've been married for a long time. When I was younger, I would engage in a conflict, in the argument. Now, when he gets like that, I would just sit there. I let him talk crazy, and I just wouldn't say anything. And so, we were having dinner. I remember it was the calamari, something. He was mad about the calamari, something. He was complaining. Across from us was a table of black girls, and he was annoyed because the waiter gave the black girls more attention. Whatever it was, he was being mean to the waiter, and the waiter called the manager. The manager didn't even acknowledge him. The manager recognized that he was drunk. Like he was wanting the manager to kiss his butt and placate him, but the manager wasn't, because my husband was drunk and he was being obnoxious. He was talking crazy to me. When the manager came, the manager was like, he wasn't rude to my husband, maybe like slightly, but he was like, "You're drunk," basically. Okay, and so that story, the part of that story that I'm trying to demonstrate, is one of the many stories that had happened. Oh, this is what I want to say, because this is when I ended up having back surgery. He was so mean to me, and I felt so bad because he, at the restaurant, he really attacked me. He really, really attacked me. He attacked me, and it hurt my heart really bad. So the next day, I called my doctor's assistant, and I said, "You know what? I gotta get something done to my back. I can't go on like this." She said, "You need to have back surgery. It's gonna be so bad you're not gonna be able to stand it. It was getting worse, and it was getting worse. And to be honest with you guys, I was suffering from chronic pain, so I was suppressed, and I was afraid to make any decisions. I was not okay. I was waking up. I had chronic pain for a significant amount of years. This man was not loving me, not making me feel loved, supported. I mean, I remember talking to another lady at Marshall's, and she had back pain too. She had back surgery, and I remember her telling me her story, and her experience was so different than mine. She talked about how her family supported her and how they helped her through it. And I remember standing there looking at this lady. I had a total different experience because my husband was not supportive. He made me feel like my back problem was my issue. Like I deserved it. So what ended up happening was I called my doctor's office from Chicago and said, I got to do something. I got to have... what I asked for was physical therapy. She was like, no, you need back surgery. And long story short, I want to say that we were in Chicago the week of like March the 16th or something, because I ended up having my surgery like April 23rd, 2016. Okay? Yeah, so I ended up having my back surgery. Not come home. He would say he's going to these conferences. And so this is the thing. Before I hurt my back, I worked in corporate America. And I would have conferences. And as a family, when I had a conference somewhere, he and my daughter would come. When he had a conference, I would come. He started coming home or making up lies, telling me stories like the day before he was going to a conference. Like I remember, you guys, I want to tell you about this because I had a business, okay? And the first time I got a customer, I was excited about my customer. I remember calling him, telling him my very first customer. He didn't want to hear about my customer because he goes, oh, I got to go to a conference that his boss couldn't go, and it was a last minute thing. I can't get too deep into this, but I want to tell y'all the details about the email for the reservations and 2 people. So what ended up happening the last 2-3 years, like I said, him going to San Diego, him not coming home, it became really very blatant. I even caught him at a Motel 6 with a hooker. You guys, please stay with me. I know I'm so long-winded, and I'm telling y'all all these details about my marriage, because I want to tell y'all everything that he did when I caught him at the Motel 6 with this hooker. I caught him at a Hotel 6 with this hooker. And see, God said, hey, God will shine a light. The truth will come to the light. You guys, I had pulled over at a local Denny's. And behind Denny's is a Motel 6. I had pulled over to do something. And I saw his car go behind me in the river mirror. And I'm like, is that his car? And so I drove over there. He in the car with some African lady. And I'm like, what are you doing? He's drunk. Okay, by this time, you guys, he's drunk all the time. By this time, my husband used to only be a weekend drunk. He would only get drunk on weekends. He worked in this company. He like changed a couple of jobs. In the business that he's in. My husband is an executive. In the business that he's in, he worked for different sister companies. He went to a sister company and it was poorly managed. He was under a lot of stress. Okay, my husband works in human services. He's a therapist, okay, but he's an administrator. He's an executive, and he's really very hardworking. So, and I'm gonna characterize this as white males, and I'm not a racist, you guys, okay? So, and I'm not trying to defend white men, okay? But what I know about white men, okay, this is why Donald Trump, they love him. He was raised to work hard. He can't make the excuse and say he's black. And I know he has privilege, you guys. I watched my husband benefit from white privilege. I can tell you stories of white privilege, tons of them, okay? Okay, and so I'm saying this to you because my husband really worked hard, you guys. My husband was a workaholic, and how he was perceived by his bosses and his colleagues was very important to him. Okay, and this is when I felt like his drinking got bad. He only worked on the weekends. Okay, I mean, I only drink on the weekends. Early on, when he started working at this company, he started coming home. When I made him dinner, he'd go upstairs and he'd make a drink. So he was drunk. He would be like drunk all the time. And so going back to the hooker story, I know y'all like she all over the place, y'all. Bear with me, y'all. So I caught him with the hooker. And my husband would play golf. She got out of the car and she went running and walking away. I said, ma'am, it's okay, honey. We're having problems. It's okay. She was like scared. And I was like, so he walks up to me. He goes, she's a hooker. You guys, we were not having sex. I was not sleeping with my husband. I don't know what he was doing, where he was at, so I stopped sleeping with him. And so he comes up to me. He's drunk. He's like, she's a hooker. He tells me she's a hooker. And then she tells me that he's selling her a golf club. She goes to her car and gets the golf club. And you guys, I actually believe this story. My daughter was the one that started crying and said, Mommy, he lying. And this is how dumb I am. He's at the back at a Motel 6. He told me he was gonna, no, she says, oh, he was gonna Venmo me the money, but he didn't have Venmo. And see, my husband is not really like digital savvy, so I kind of believed him. But why would as I sit here and think about it now, you guys. Okay, so I told her that he said she was a hooker. She got mad. She goes, I'm not a hooker. And she looked at him all crazy. And I think that's when she left. But you guys, to this day, I don't know if this lady was a hooker or not. She probably was a hooker, right, you guys? Yeah. So this is like the last of it. This is like the month or two before the divorce was initiated. And so we were not having sex. Okay? Remember my girlfriend I told you what we were talking about? She would always complain about her husband and not being able to last long. Sex with my husband was always horrible. He was never good at sex. And that's one of the things that I would talk to her about. My marriage was not built on sex. We never had a great sex life. Sex with him was never good. I didn't love him for sex. And now that I'm older and things have changed a little bit, I kind of understand the importance of sex. And maybe some of you guys might think that's why he was cheating on me. I don't know. But I stopped having sex with him. He was being disrespectful. And so I stopped having sex with him. I'm not going to even lie to you guys. He was doing stuff that I don't feel like was safe. And the main thing was these conferences. And this is how everything came to a head. One day, I remember I was in the backyard and I was listening to the 4 Agreements. You guys, I got all kind of audio books. I've been in this abusive relationship for over 20 years. My Audible library is full of self-help books. I'm going to tell y'all, and you can tell me honest feedback. I just wanted my marriage to work. And he had been doing things to me for over 20 years. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I really thought he would change. I really thought that he would get better. Because at times he would be lucid and he would, when he would send me this, give me these cards and say he was sorry, he would try to change. But what derailed him, it was the alcohol. In the last couple of years, I recognized he's an alcoholic, and unless he stops drinking, it's not going to get better. So I kind of just, I stopped, I didn't, we were not together. We was separated. I mean, it was like our marriage was really on hanging by threads. But we have been married for over 20 years. And so if you've been in a long-term relationship, you have highs and lows. And so when we would fall out or whatever, we would have like disagreements and it would really be bad and he would be like have this dark behavior. I would just retreat and I would like fall back from him, and I would just not be around him. And then that's when he would come back and he would be nice to me. I remember one time, he would come home. My husband worked a lot, you guys. He'd come home and he'd go upstairs and he'd look at TV when I bring him food. And I read A Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Men have to build testosterone. So, when he'd come home and I kiss him, before I would want to talk to him and be around him and be with him because I've been home all day. But then I realized he needed to be left alone. I remember him coming downstairs saying, honey, thanks for letting me look at TV and not bothering me. I was really trying my best to make my marriage work. And so this is how it came to a head. He was drunk. And I was back here listening to the Four Agreements. And he came back here, he says, I'm going to a conference. And he said, he put his finger in my face, he said, you ain't invited. And we got into a fight, you guys. Not a physical fight. We got into an argument. We got into a heated argument, and I told him I was sick of this, and I was tired of it because he would always threaten to leave me, you guys. My husband's been threatening to leave me for 20-something years, and I used to get anxiety and be afraid and scared and stuff, and it was another one of his threats, and we got into a fight, and I was like, I'm sick of you being unfaithful. Because it was obvious. And what probably ticked me off? Because he came in the back car and he put his finger in my face. And he was drunk. He says, I'm going on a conference next week. And he put his finger in my face and he said, you're not invited. He was drunk. And we got into it. And so what ended up happening, you guys, this was 2017. September 2017. He ended up going. And he filed for divorce on the way to the conference. He ended up filing for divorce on the way to the conference. And when he came back on Friday, he came in here and he said, I need to talk to you. What do you want to do? And he filed for divorce. So that's the end of this video. The next video I'm going to tell y'all, which is very important, I'm going to tell you how the divorce proceedings started. So just to give you guys a reminder, this is a video in a series of videos. I married a white guy and 3 racist judges tried to annihilate me. They are annihilating me. They're coming for my whole life, y'all. And so the next video, I'm going to tell you about the first time I went to court and what happened. If you've been listening this longer, I appreciate you. Again, this is about me shining a light on these 3 racist judges, and me, what I'm trying to do is raise money in the GoFundMe, because it's my position, it's my goal to file a civil liberties suit against the Los Angeles family court system or the judicial system. And I'm asking again, you guys, this is to black women. I'm sorry, you guys, I'm in my feelings right now, but I need you guys to support me. If you're thinking about my behavior, my attitude or whatever, I'm just hurt, you guys. And please stick with me. I need y'all to pull up and rock with me. And as I make more videos, you'll see my personality and you'll learn about who I am. I want to make a difference. And when this started happening to me, I was like, God, why is this happening to me? And I believe everything happens in divine order. And I have purpose. I'm a pretty strong-willed person. But these people, they're annihilating me. All last year, I was depressed and sad. I'm suffering from insomnia. I don't sleep at all. And I feel strongly about this because I'm a strong black woman. I am a strong, resilient black woman. And I feel broken. And so I feel like if I'm enduring this, if this is hard for me, if I'm having such a complicated time with this, I know it's happening to other women. People emailed me. When I was in court, I have a postcard of this racist woman saying if you know anything about her and you can share any stories about her. I gave it to a social worker in court. The social worker gave it to a girl who's involved in a abusive, like it's a Facebook abuse, domestic violence group, and she emailed me and shine a light at Judge Sarah Heidel as a racist, telling me what these judges did to Latino women. She told me, she said, Tony, it's judges that gave custody to white men when they openly admitted to sexually abusing their kids. She told me that. To you guys who reached out to me, some people are, sisters, this is like, let me be positive about it. Sisters, I've had women reach out to me. And so, let me get on my feelings. We're going to unite. Okay? Remember, I'm asking y'all to send $1. And why I'm excited about it is that if we can achieve this on $1, if me raising enough money to hire a civil liberties lawsuit, a civil rights attorney to file this lawsuit, if I can raise enough money to file a lawsuit asking for $1, I want to give a message to America. Okay, again, the black woman, the most unprotected, disrespected, neglected person in America. And you guys, I'm about accountability. Sitting here talking about woe is me, they did this and they did that, that's not going to change it. I am a black woman and I know about that black girl magic. And I want to use this situation to show America and the rest of the world what we're made of. I know I need to wrap this up, you guys, but black women, I love y'all. And I know what we're made of. And, you know, white girls, I love all women. Okay, you're going to learn more about my background and who I am. I am a supporter of women in general. I want black women to step up and help me in this because I want to send a message to the world what we can do collaboratively. That we're not what they try to make us and frame us to be. Once I start telling you about this racist Judge Sarah Heidel, when I start telling you about her, what we're going to do as a group, as women, we're going to teach other racist women like that, racist people, that we're not having it. And if you do this, if you come for us like that, we're going to do what's necessary. So again, if you've been watching this long, praise God. Thank you so much. My GoFundMe's down. It's at the bottom. Please give me $1. Y'all need to pull up. Rock with me. If you don't have $1 to give me, I understand. If you can't donate $1, can you just share the video? Can you subscribe to the video? Can you subscribe to the series? I really want the $1 though, you guys. I really want the $1 because when I think about it, I get excited. I'm a glass half full kind of person. And how I do things, in these serial videos, you're going to learn about who I am and how I think. Okay? And in order for anything to occur, it has 2 stages. And the first stage is to create it in your mind and your thought, to think of it. And I I get excited. How I manifest things is I behave like they're going to happen, like they're already happening. And in my mind, I'm thinking about if we raise enough money to hold these 3 racist judges accountable, and it's news, what will happen? How would it change the world? How quick would these racist people in authority be? How quick would they be to be so blatantly racist? When I sit here and tell you guys all the stuff this racist lady and the rest of these people did to me, maybe you won't be shocked. Maybe you're a black woman and you experience racism at work all the time. I'm a black person and I experience racism throughout my life. I don't focus on it. I just learned a long time ago, if you sit and focus on it, it's not good for your psyche, you know? So, like seeing that TikTok video, that little girl made a video talking about we gonna make a nigga. Woo. And still today, I'm looking at this video like, really? You guys comment about that, because maybe I'm just delusional. Because I really was shocked that she did that. When this racist judge, all the things she did to me, you guys, I'm going to tell y'all in the other videos. But I was like, with my mouth open, like, is this actually really happening to me? You know what? Thanks for rocking with me, you guys. Thank you. Tell your friends to pull up. Yeah.